Okay, so I'm going to run through a couple different topics with you guys tonight, kind of where Instagram has made changes, but also just like a run through of how I run my business through Instagram for those of you who are kind of new to it and are really trying to grow there and don't have all of like the step one fundamentals. Um, the biggest thing with Instagram is aesthetics. So Facebook, you can really gain a following by your witty posts, or maybe you share things that are funny. There's a lot more that you can do on Facebook to grab someone's attention. Instagram is very visual. It started as a picture sharing platform. So for those people who really don't like taking pictures or sharing pictures, you're going to struggle with Instagram because it's very visual. I don't know what that little pop-up was. That being said, there has been this push or this maybe misconception that you need to have these beautiful, edited, filtered pictures in order to, to get anywhere with Instagram. And that's not true, okay? Yes, I mean, I would prefer that, I would say that people tend to prefer good lighting, kind of bright and airy. I know when I first started taking pictures of my food, for example, sometimes it looked like I vomited on my plate and then I took a picture of it. We've all been there. So I will say there are some things to not do, but don't feel like you need to have it all figured out and have beautiful photography in order to be successful. I do hear some background noise and it's showing me that everyone is muted, so I don't know why that's happening. If you guys are on and for some reason you are not muted, please do that. I even have it so you can't unmute yourselves. So I don't know how that's happening. So that being said, I'm going to give you a couple tips on if you do want to really enhance visually your feed. First, I would take a look at accounts that you follow that are visually appealing to you. So for me, I love bright, light, white photography. If you guys have ever seen me post pictures of my own home, there's lots of white, lots of gray. That's just what I like. That is not to be said that you should like that or that's the only thing that's going to work on Instagram, but you should have some sort of color theme that represents you and has like a general feel. Maybe it's more like muted, neutral, moody tones. That's great. But kind of having like a general feel for your Instagram is, it's kind of important because it is a very visual platform. I've had conversations with people that are like, well, I just don't post on Instagram because I don't have this picture perfect setting in my house. Like I don't have like this beautiful wall that just is made for me to stand in front of and take pictures. Like maybe your house is small, or maybe you live in an apartment, or maybe you have like a crap ton of kids' toys that are all over the place. Like that's real life. And I think, and I've said this before, but chaos can be beautiful if done well. So, I mean, when I started coaching, I had a 2-month-old and a 20-month-old. So my house was a mess, but it was kind of this organized chaos that really worked for like the market that I was talking to. And that was young moms. That was moms of little ones. They would not relate to this completely clean home. They would relate to that kind of baby bomb clutter that went off my living room. So the next thing I'm going to talk about outside of aesthetics is who are you talking to when you're posting? Are you talking to other coaches? Are you talking to full-time employees? Are you talking to students? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to athletes? Are you talking to people that are on a weight loss journey? Are you talking to people that are really into fashion? It's very important that before you post anything, you know who the post is for. And that will change. Mine has changed so much over time, and yours will evolve and it will change, but it's important that whenever you make that post, that you know who you're talking to, and that your posts reflect that audience. So, for example, when I started growing on Instagram, like I said, I had babies. So my posts were a lot of my kids. It was a lot of my kids. It was stuff we did together. It was products I used. I have a 6 and an 8-year-old now. So it's very different, and I had to evolve with how I changed and how my life changed. So now my market is more geared towards home decor, clothing, lifestyle, traveling, those are kind of more my niche. So when I do post a picture of my children, it doesn't rank as high as maybe I post a picture of my feet and my doormat showing pumpkins. Like, because it's who I'm talking to now. I'm not talking to moms of little ones anymore. I'm talking to this other group of people. So if you guys don't feel like you have a clear idea or voice on who you're talking to, that is step one before you do anything, because pretty pictures only go so far if they're geared towards the right people that are looking at them. So that's really important. Now, the picture tells a story, and it needs to tell a story if someone never read your caption. That's the big thing with Instagram too. With Facebook, it's true, and it's been polled and surveyed. People are more likely to read your caption on Facebook because they know you. So remember, Instagram is typically a very cold market, and Facebook is a very warm market, generally speaking. So people on Facebook, they see your name pop up with your status, and they're like, oh, I do want to see what she says. Someone on Instagram, they don't really know you. So unless your picture is grabbing, they are going to keep scrolling. So a lot of times when I do social media audits for my coaches, and I see a couple of them on that I've done it for, I go to their page and I'm like, beautiful pictures. You are gorgeous. Autumn, you're right there. I see you. Hi. Amazing. But I don't know your story just from the pictures that you're showing me right now. So if someone never read a single word on your Instagram and you just pulled it up, would they know the story you're trying to tell? And that's something you guys should probably go back to your Instagram and look at it tonight and really take a look at it and say, what story am I telling here? Because you're telling a story with your photos. So if someone never read the caption ever, what story would you be telling? Now, let's talk about the caption for a minute, because while the caption is not crucial, and maybe it's kind of like phase 2 of your Instagram growth, it has been polled and surveyed that people do not like these long, heartfelt, lengthy posts every day. I will be honest, I tend to unfollow people that are long-winded on Instagram. I might read it on Facebook, I won't read it on Instagram. If your story is about this deep emotional trauma that you had, but it's a picture of you holding a coffee mug, I'm going to be very confused because the coffee mug is saying something and your story is about something else. So I would say this: sometimes these deep posts are important, but keep them in moderation. If you're too long-winded, if you're too, if there's too many words, someone was like, too much. You've got like 5 seconds to make someone decide they want to read your post. So the picture's going to grab them, and then what's above the fold. So, and that means, when you look at your Instagram caption and it will say like load more or read more. So above the fold is what people can see when they're scrolling. That is your chance to hook them, to get them to click what's below the fold. So usually that first line, I try to have it be something grabbing or something, catchy that will make them want to read the rest of the post. That being said, I try to keep my captions somewhat short most of the time, so that when I do have a long post, and usually it has something to do with being a call to action, or something where I'm trying to get like a real reaction or engagement, people are like, well, Jenn never posts these really long 17 paragraph, just kidding, kind of posts, so it must be important. But if you're constantly doing that and people are just gonna be like, I'm not interested, I'm gonna roll along. Something else with captions, if you do have a longer one, it has been polled and surveyed. You're gonna hear me saying that a lot because a lot of these groups that I'm in, they do a lot of this research where they're polling people and they're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. People don't like big blocks of text. They like it broken up. So what I like to do is have like the little crosses or the little X's where you can kind of break out what you're saying using emojis, having line breaks. It's visually appealing to people when they are watching something or reading something, to have those breaks. In fact, my husband will not read anything that I even text him unless it's broken up, because he says big blocks of text for me, he won't read it. He just tells me I'm not reading it. It's too much. So if my husband is anyone's demographic, like, let it be said that we need to break things up, or otherwise people are just like, this is too much, it's overwhelming. I'm moving to the next 100 people on my feed that I can look at what they're posting. So I like to break it up. quickly, if you don't know how to do line breaks, there is a website you can go to. I don't know it. I think Brittany Leggett is on. I think she uses it, where you can line break without dots. I am lazy and I don't want to copy and paste my caption into a website, so I use dots or I use slashes. So as long as you don't have any space at the end of the sentence or end of the line, there's no like extra space, and you click enter and you put a dot and then you click enter again, you could start typing and it will break up. Can you hear them? You can break up the text that way. And I kind of like the dots or the bracket. Like, I like that visual separation of what I'm trying to say. So whatever you want to do is totally fine, but those spaces are visually appealing and people like that if your text is going to be lengthy. Quick interjection about hashtags. There's a lot of chatter as to, should I be putting my hashtags in the caption or in the comments? This changes constantly as to what Instagram likes and what it doesn't like. As of right now, they don't care. This could change next month, I don't know. But as of now, it's fine. So what I usually do is I'll put a couple relevant hashtags in my caption itself, like very relevant ones that have to do with the exact picture that I've posted, maybe 2, maybe 3. For example, I was just in San Francisco this weekend, so the hashtags that I put into my caption were directly related to the picture, where I was at in the picture and where the city was. And then when I go into my comments, you do ... as a separation, so that when someone comes to your page, they don't immediately see this long slew of hashtags. It's broken up, the dots just boom, 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 right under another. I want to say it's 5. And then you launch into your hashtag set list there. I'm going to briefly talk about hashtags because there's a lot of conflicting feelings and information about hashtags themselves and how we use them and why we use them. So for me personally, with hashtags today, they are less used so that you are able to, that people are able to find you. They're more used so that you can find other people. But that's not to be said that you shouldn't use them and that people can't find you while searching hashtags. It's just a little bit more rare that a regular person using Instagram is going to be searching hashtags to try to find you. It's more something we do as a tactic in sales to find people to purchase our product and or in network marketing to join our team. So that being said, don't put a lot of weight on hashtags for people to find you. Make sure you have hashtag set lists so that you can find others. Why do we use hashtags on our posts then? There's a couple different examples. The ones that I said, like I put inside my caption, like San Francisco or Golden Gate Bridge, or the ones that I had put it directly in my feed. If I'm traveling, I sometimes like to search hashtags of the place I'm going. Does anyone else do that? Or if I'm going to be going to a restaurant, I might want to see a hashtag of other people that have gone to that restaurant, maybe pull up food that they've ordered. So there are examples of why a regular person with no motive whatsoever on social media might use hashtags to find somebody. But it's very unlikely that somebody that is not looking to expand their market is going to go for the hashtag lifestyle blogger and search it. Do you know what I mean? It's just, so think about the hashtags you're using and what the purpose of them is. A lot of us use hashtags so that we can get ranked on the Explore page. And the Explore page is basically when you open up your Instagram app and you see that initial page, it shows you a bunch of different accounts that Instagram thinks you would be interested in following. And they generate and populate those accounts based on the kind of pictures you like, the kind of content you post, that sort of thing. So for Instagram users, it is our end game goal to be featured on the Explore page because it's awesome. It is difficult for it to happen. So do not stress, do not make that your ultimate goal on Instagram, you know, as you're starting out, because it is difficult. You're competing against people that have hundreds of thousands of followers and that use these very popular hashtags. Now, to get on the Explore page, if you're going for a lower ranked hashtag, maybe it has 25,000, users or less, there's more chance of it. How to get featured on the Explore page? It's all about engagement. So Instagram likes to see engagement in the first 60 minutes that your post goes up. They like to see likes, they like to see comments. That's very important for them to see that your post is doing well. If your post performs well in the first 60 minutes, Instagram then pushes it into the feeds of more people. If your post continues to perform well within the first 24 hours that it's up, they will feature you on the Explore page under one of those hashtags that you chose to put in your post. So these are things to know. These are things to keep in the back of your mind when you're posting. There's two very separate aspects of Instagram when it comes to us as coaches. So number one is to grow your following, because obviously the wider the net that you cast, the more people that could potentially join your team and become your customer. So growing your following is important, but the second half of that is the actual one-on-one conversations, invitations, and engaging that you're doing with people, those direct one-on-ones. So where I see a lot of coaches fail is they create this beautiful social media, and I go to their page and I'm like, oh my God, she's so cute. Her dog's adorable. I love those sneakers. Why is this not working for her? And it's because while she's doing all of the things that I just mentioned to have aesthetics are great, captions great, storytelling's awesome, she's not doing anything else that is going to promote her Beachbody business or is going to grow her behind the scenes. So know that no matter how beautiful your Instagram may be, if you're not doing the work behind the scenes and if you're not actively trying to recruit a certain type of person and bring them in, there is going to be no phase 2 for you. There is going to be no conversion for your business. So a lot of what we're saying right now, what I'm telling you, is how to set up your feed for success. But that doesn't mean that success is just going to roll in on you because your pictures were beautiful. I wish I could say that was the truth. Unfortunately, it's not. I've been doing this for years, and I still have to have those one-on-one conversations. So as far as how to gain new followers, I have for years, and I've talked about it in numerous trainings. Follow, unfollow method is the one that I use. I will say, right now, I am not doing any unfollows because my app that I was using is not working for me. So the app is called Cleaner for Instagram. I've used it for years. It's not working for me right now. I think it is working for some people. We have to be very careful at this stage of Instagram life. They do not like us using third-party servers at all, in any way, shape, or form. So if I can give a general disclaimer right now, if you guys are using a third-party tool where you are sharing your password with them to use their service, I would recommend not doing that. I've almost had my Instagram shut down multiple times for using, I won't use their name because I don't want to slander anybody. I mean, it's not their fault. It is what it is. But I was promoting them and I was using them and it was fantastic. I had a lot of growth. It made my life a lot easier. And Instagram basically sent me a message and said, we know you've shared your password with a company that's helping you to grow your account. Change your password. Don't give it to them again, or we're going to delete your account. So that was all I needed to not do that again. So I am currently not doing any unfollows. I'm still doing follows. You, of course, can do manual unfollows. So if you go through your follower list, like people that you are following, and you want to do unfollows of people that maybe they don't fit your niche anymore, and you kind of want to put that effort and time into that, that is totally up to you. I have heard people are still using these third-party apps where they're doing unfollows, but they're doing them very slowly, and it doesn't seem to be annoying Instagram. Rule of thumb, don't do any more than 50 actions in an hour that could possibly look like a bot is doing it and not you. Obviously, none of us have the skill to unfollow 50 people in 30 seconds. So if that's happening, they know that it's not you and they know it's a bot. They could potentially take your account away. So yes, the follow-unfollow method is still, what I recommend doing. If nothing else, do your follows. Where do I find people to follow? Hashtags. So this is a pretty simple way of finding hashtags to use. Do you guys all follow like a bigger non-Beachbody account? Maybe like for me, I follow a lot of home design bloggers or interior decorators. I follow builders. I also follow a lot of people who travel bloggers. That's kind of my niche right now. That's where I'm at in life. So I follow a lot of people like that. Obviously, these people have no Beachbody relation experience whatsoever. So I go to their pages and I look at what hashtags they're using. And I will go to those hashtags and I will follow people that they are, that are following those hashtags. I will follow people that are commenting on their posts if I feel like those people vibe with me. I like the style of what they're posting. I will follow those people. So to me, that is the easiest way to do it. If there's an account you already follow that you like their vibe, they have a big,
Oh my
they've done a lot of the work for you, and let's work smarter, not harder. So that works for me. There's also different websites where you can go and they generate hashtags for you. There's one I used a lot in the past. I'm not going to link it right now because I wasn't not the quality of hashtags it's giving anymore. I find that more or less, you know, going to these bloggers, these big, you know, Instagram accounts and looking what they're using has been more successful for me. And I think it'll be easier for you guys too. So that's what I'm recommending today, right now, as the easiest thing. Please do not go to large Beachbody accounts and follow those people. That should go without saying, but unfortunately it doesn't. So I'm going to say it. We do not want to be competing any more so with each other than we have to. So go another route. Go to accounts that are not Beachbody related and look at what they're doing, what hashtags they're using, people that are engaging with them, and how you can, you know, get yourself in there to find people to follow. So that being said, I do 2 separate power hours. One power hour is for people to follow. I do not track these people. I do not really do anything else with them. They're purely just for me to follow them. It's just for me to follow. My secondary power hour is where I do engagements. So I do the same process where I'm following hashtags, where I'm looking at these accounts, and I will click on their post, and I will follow if I'm not already, and I will engage. First 2 posts, leave 4 or more word comments. Instagram does not rank the comment well unless it is 4 words. Emojis don't count. It's funny because in regular life, if I wasn't doing this job, I would never know that, because sometimes I go to pictures and all I want to do is leave heart face emojis, you know, and that just made sense for me for that caption. But because there are so many bots and because there are so many apps that were developed to replicate human behavior, the only way for Instagram to believe that you're a real person making this comment is to have these rules in place. So 4 words or more, emojis not included, is a legitimate comment in the eyes of Instagram. Also, when you get a comment on your post that is 4 words or more that talks to the post that you made, are you more likely to read it? Yes. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like the person cared enough to look at your picture, read your caption, and respond. How to get someone to engage back with you? Ask them a question. So cute exclamation point. If someone leaves me cute exclamation point, I usually give it a heart and I usually say thank you, but there's not a lot more dialogue. If someone's trying to get my attention on my post, they'll ask me a question. They'll ask me something about the caption, something about the picture, but those are the ones that I usually pay a lot more attention to. And if I'm being really honest with you guys, a lot of the time I actually click their profile and I will look at who they are. So rule of thumb, if you want these people to notice you, ask them a question and really engage like a heartfelt response on their post. So that's a secondary power hour though. So what I can get done in my first power hour of follows is obviously a lot more substantial than I can in the second one because I'm doing a lot more one-to-one work. Now, during that secondary power hour where I am jotting, you know, I'm doing these engagements, that's where I jot names down of people that I want to circle back to and potentially put on my I want you to become a coach list. Now, all coaches do this differently. I am not a cold message person. I am not telling you that it's bad. I am certainly not telling you it doesn't work because it does. I just don't like it, and so I just don't do it. How I work is I find these people that I vibe with. I really pick up on it pretty quickly, who I like their aesthetic, I like their caption, I like what they're sharing, and I put them on a list of someone I want to get to know a little bit better. So I start following these people. I watch their stories. I look at their posts. I try to check in with these people that I put on the short list. I try to check in with them every day. And I try to have these conversations where they're getting to know me and I'm getting to know them. Now, I personally, and I recommend this, try to find people that are actively using their social media almost every day. So if you follow a girl and she hasn't posted in 2 months, I'm going to wager to say she's not going to be your easiest to train coach because you're going to have to teach her how to use social media. Now, if I find a person that's posting every day, Even if she has 100 followers, her pictures are pretty, she's posting every day. I am like, big star next to your name. Like, I can teach you how to run this business. You've already got the fundamentals of social media. So that's something to be said about the kind of people you're following and the conversations you have. So a lot of people are like, well, what do you say? Like, what do you say to these people? How do you have these conversations? Well, remember, like, if you were on Instagram and you were not a coach, how would you be engaging with people? What would you be saying? What would those conversations look like? And so for me, these conversations are conversations I would have with someone I'm trying to get to know, a friend that I have some, general interest with. So for example, some of these people that I've been following that are in Paris, for example, which is a great market to tap into, not just Paris itself, but France in general, as we're going to be launching there in the spring. So I will message and I'll be like, oh my gosh, your pictures were gorgeous. You had a restaurant in one of your stories, but you didn't link it. Like, what was that restaurant? I would totally want to put it on my list of places to go. Then she answers. Then I'm like, do you have any other recommendations since you live there of places I should definitely see that are kind of off the beaten path? She responds. Do you see how this conversation can kind of bounce back and forth a little bit? And then that might go away. And then her next story tomorrow will pop up and I'll watch it and I'll comment on maybe the shoes she's wearing. Oh my gosh, girl, those shoes, I love them. Where did you get them? But these conversations can be, in my opinion, I would do it regardless if I was hoping she'd become a coach on my team or not. I would be sending those messages anyway. So if you're sending a message, in my opinion, that feels gross to you and feels fake, they're gonna perceive it as such. So don't send a message unless you genuinely feel the way that you're feeling and it's something you actually want to know. I feel like people can pick up immediately if you're being fake. So how do these conversations translate into them becoming a customer of mine or becoming a coach? Okay, the more you interact with these people through their stories, through their inbox, on their pages, they're gonna be curious about you because they're like, who is this chick that keeps rolling into my DMs? They wanna know who you are. So they're gonna start watching your stories. And if you're providing good content in your stories and your feed is showing good content, that's where that connection happens. So sometimes these people, I have never hard invited them, but because of that communication and them coming back to my page and watching my stories, they're like, oh, so you run boot camps? What's that? What is that you run? And I'm like, oh, this is what I do. So sometimes it's this very organic relationship that happens. Other times for me, if I've been talking to this person for a week, 2 weeks, it's different for everybody on how the conversation flows. I hard invite them. Because for me, if I get a message in my inbox like, hey Jen, oh my gosh, your boys are so cute and you're so cute and I love your clothes. Have you heard of Monet? It's hair care and I think you would like really love it. I'm like, bye. I don't know you. Why did you just hard invite me? Like why would I buy anything from you? I have 25 other people that I know that sell Monet. Why would I buy it from you? Now, if this girl had taken the time to follow my stories as I was in Europe, to follow, watching my kids that I post when they are at baseball practice, and then had messaged me like, hey Jen, I've been following you for a while. I've kind of messaged you back and forth. I sell Monet. If you're interested, like, can I tell you a little bit more about it? And, if not, no worries. But I already know who this girl is because she's already been engaging with me for 2 weeks. I am so much more likely to buy her hair serum because of that than if she just rolled into my inbox right at the get-go without anything behind it. Now, you might be different. You might like the hard push. Some people do, it works. But for me, it wouldn't work for me. And so when I do it, it feels very inauthentic and it just doesn't feel good for me. So all I'm here to tell you is another option of a way to do it if that way feels uncomfortable. If you like cold messaging, if it feels good to you, if you have no problem with it, girl, do you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you do not have to listen to every single thing I'm saying or do what I'm saying. It's just suggestions and just putting it out there on different ways for you to run your business. So outside of those personalized conversations, I do a lot of polls. And it takes time for people to warm up to polls. I realize that. Some of you guys might have hundreds of people that watch your polls. Some of you might have like your mom and your dad and your sister and your husband, and that's it. And I get that. Everything takes time to grow. But the more you do it, the more stories you share, the more you engage, the more you grow your following, the more your stories will grow too. Something I've been teaching my coaches is how to take an Instagram story and make it into a post. So you probably have a lot more people, if you're just starting out on Instagram, that are watching your feed than they are watching your stories. So if you do a poll in your stories and my boot camp is called Slay Girl Boot Camp. So if I'm like, my Slay Girl Boot Camp it actually started today. It's fall into fall. I give a little bit of information about it. I'm like, if you're interested in pricing, click this one. If you're interested in package details, click this one. I feel like an important thing for polls is to give two options that you want an answer to, that you want to hear the answer. I learned a long time ago to never give them a negative response, because I don't want to see that negative response. It's not helpful for me. It's not helpful for other people seeing that poll. So give two positives or give two options in your poll. So how can you take that and put it into your caption? Do it in your story, and then bring it over and make it a post. So maybe it's you sitting on at your grocery store's hay bales, and there's a bunch of pumpkins around you, and this is gonna be your fall boot camp post, right? Like, everybody has a grocery store that has a pumpkin display, I'm pretty sure. So you do not need a freaking porch with 85 pumpkins like mine. It's not necessary. You can find somewhere that you can take this cute pumpkin picture, all right? So you take this picture, and then in the caption of it, you're like, it's fall, all things pumpkin. I'm running this pumpkin group. It's going to be amazing. Do you want the different packages that I'm running? Drop a pumpkin emoji in the comments below. Do you want to get into my nutrition boot camp that I'm starting? Not interested in workouts? That's fine. I run a nutrition boot camp. Drop an emoji of a salad below. So there's a way that you can poll people on Instagram that aren't Insta stories, and how you can translate an Insta story poll into your caption. And for a lot of people, that's a lot more successful. Also, people really like dropping emojis. So if you're asking them to drop their email, people are going to be very hesitant to drop their email, but they're much more likely to drop a pumpkin emoji. So just something to try of how to translate what happens in your stories into your posts, into the feed itself. Another way to get these, to get the conversion going, is to have some sort of freemium or some sort of freebie. One of my coaches, Ashley, she created this, she showed it to me this morning. I'm just like, I love it. It was like a self-care PDF. What I recommend doing with these PDFs is to upload them to Google Drive and then go to tinyurl and make a custom link. So it could be like tinyurl.com/Jenn's self-care guide. And you can use these freemiums as a way to offer something to people in order for them to subscribe to whatever you're doing, whether it's your email list, whether it's a free group you're running, whatever it is. Instead of just being like, hey, join my free group, you're like, hey, I have this free beautiful guide if you're interested in. And that's an easy way for you to offer something for free without asking them, hey, pay for this. It's just like a way to segue into it. But yes, for me personally, I like the hard invite. Once I've gotten to know the person, I feel like it just works really well. So when people answer my polls or my caption, if I was to do a feed post, I have these kind of pre-written templates where I initially send them, hey, thanks for, asking for more information from my poll. I'm happy to give you more information if you meant to click the story. We've all had those people that are like, oops, didn't mean to click it. So I like to preface that in my initial post before I launch into a tirade of information. They're like, sorry, it was like my son's too, and he clicked it. So I say that, and then if they are interested, and what you'll find when you say that to people, no worries, it's fine. They're like, well, I did accidentally click it, but like, what's the information again? So it's a way for you to be able to get into their inbox, even if they didn't mean to click it. And I like to put all of my PDFs that I send them information on into that link that I can share, as opposed to bringing them into email. So like I said, I run my entire business on Instagram. I've tried bringing them over to email. I lose people. Kudos to the coaches who can do it and successfully transfer them. It doesn't unfortunately work for me, so I'm sticking to what works, and that's keeping them in Instagram. So when they request more information, I do everything via DM. How do I keep that organized? I will quickly run through that. So Instagram's inbox is a fickle creature. I wish they would create a separate app like Facebook Messenger. I don't know when it will happen or if it will happen, but what I do is I flag conversations that have any relation to anything I may want to follow up. So this could be a conversation I'm having with a girl that I've never invited, that I want to invite one day. And this could be someone I'm getting ready to send a share a card to. So all of them get flagged. Now, when you go into your inbox, if you have a business account or a creator account, either is fine. I have toggled back and forth between business and creator. And honestly, I find no real difference between them. They set up your inbox a little bit differently both ways. I do recommend having one or the other though. I don't recommend having your personal account simply because you don't have insights and you don't have any way to really see who is seeing your posts and any sort of reach. If you are a brand new account, maybe with less than 100 followers, you can stick with personal for the time being. But if you really want to see growth or run ads, you're going to want either the business or the creator account. But back to the inbox. So you can set it to show you unread messages. And for a time, that worked great. Unfortunately, and I don't know if you guys realize this, but it does not actually show you every message that is unread. At least for me, at least for maybe people that may have a few messages in there, it does not show you all of them. And so I'm like, yeah, cleared my inbox. And then I would have people message me like, you've been ignoring me for 3 weeks. And I'm like, whoa, Instagram lied. Like it said it was empty. So now what I do, and while this can seem like it's difficult, I haven't found it to be, I just scroll through my inbox. Like I scroll through it and I make sure that I hit all of the messages that have been read. Now, I'm not saying be a slave to your inbox. I do this, once a day. So my morning time, I work from 8 to 2, and then nighttime, I work from like 8:30 to 10:30, and I usually do this at the end of the night. But I will mark it unread first and do what I can with what it populates for me. And then I will scroll right through my inbox. It shouldn't be hard if you are doing it consistently. You won't have like a bunch of missed messages. I do the same thing with flagged. So I flag them with the little orange flag that I want to follow up. And then when I scroll through the actual feed of my inbox, I open up all of those flagged messages. And those are very important during every single day's power hour to get to those messages that I have flagged. I'm very organized with the way I do these things. I think it's important. I never want people slipping through the cracks. I don't want people feeling that they're not important to me. So I try to answer every single message in my inbox every single day. I recommend it if you can find the time to try to do that. And so that's how I flag people. But I also write their names down in my iPhone notes section. Now, I used to use Google Sheets, and those were great. And if you like Google, that's awesome. I did at a time, and now I find just using my iPhone notes section is easier, and I stick with that. If you like pen and paper, do that. If you like using these third-party tools like Asana or these other things, do that. I just think it's easy to have my iPhone notes. So what I do is I label the note at the top, so it will say potential coaches. And all of those people I flag that I'm having these conversations with, these back and forths, I write their name down and I flag them. So it's 2 places so they don't slip through the cracks. I have another note that's labeled potential boot campers. These are people that have answered my polls and have told me they are interested, but they're not interested right now, or maybe they've ghosted me once. These are all people that I want to make sure I follow up with. So these are 2 ways to make sure these people don't slip through the cracks. Really quickly, when I do follows, do I track those people? I do not. I only track the people that I am trying to recruit with a hard invite. Now, like I said, there's 2 parts of your Instagram. One is pure growth, and one is to grow your Beachbody business specifically. So you do not need to track every single person. And every single person you follow, you're not going to see immediate potential for them to join your boot camp or them to become a coach. So I personally track the people that I think have potential of me and really growing that relationship with. So outside of the hashtags and outside of you following people that you have sought out based on your niche, I have found that giveaways are very helpful. They are a great way to kind of amp up your following. I try to join giveaways that do not have other coaches that are participating, because sometimes it's not possible because a lot more coaches are doing them. But there are so many giveaway accounts. You buy into them. So like you guys would buy into them. When I started doing them, I did buy into them, and now I usually sponsor them. And how this works, and this is why it's beneficial for you guys, is they get these higher like follower accounts. So usually it's 50,000 followers or more. And they bring about 10 of us in there. And basically you guys get the benefits of not only the people that are buying into it, that you're all seeing each other's, you know, their followers need to all follow you, but you're also getting the exposure of an account like mine that has a lot of followers. And some have even more than I do, like 100,000 followers. So it's usually like I would say like a 30, 40, maximum $50 buy-in. And I would say you average close to 500 new followers when you do these giveaways. And these are real people, you know, and you might get some unfollows when the giveaway's over and they don't win. But on the most part, if you're providing good content and you're answering the people that are subscribing to the giveaway, it's a really great chance for you to engage with people you wouldn't normally be able to. What I tried to do also is when all the people are following me and my notifications, I'm like going and following them back. I'm like following them all back. So they see that immediate follow back. You could even take it a step further and you could start messaging those people. Like on their feed or watching their stories, like get into their inbox, whatever. But these giveaways are fantastic. I would kind of just search on Instagram. I'm posting one tonight. You can look at that company that I'm doing it with. But a lot of people do these giveaways and kind of seek out ones that are appealing. Classy Loops is probably my favorite. They are one of the higher buy-ins, but I feel like I always get the most return on their giveaways. So that's one to check out. She sells out her slots within 30 seconds. That's how good they are. So what she does, if you follow her, it's just Classy Loops. She will post like a couple days in advance that she's about to open up spots for one of her giveaways. And you legit set an alarm on your phone and you like log in, and it's quickest to PayPal the money to buy in, gets a slot. But to me, hers are worth it because there's really good people that end up following you based on her giveaways. So it's just a way to invest in your business. I'm not a big fan of ads. I don't really run them. I feel like I might get a lot of likes on them, but the conversion isn't great. I feel like paying to have actual people come to my page that is in the niche that I'm looking in. And again, these giveaways need to be part of your niche. So when I participate in giveaways that are like baby bottles and diaper bags and strollers, my conversion's not awesome because I've been out of that phase for so long. But like tonight is a Louis Vuitton bag and an Apple Watch. So that probably will generate more success for me. So again, join giveaways that pertain to your niche, which goes back to our first part of our conversation. Who are you talking to and who do you want to respond? So we talked about algorithms, how, you know, you want to do the engagement within the first, 60 minutes of the post being up. How do you make that happen? What I recommend is getting some girls on your team, maybe to some of your coaches, maybe to some of your coach friends, and getting into an engagement pod where as soon as you post, you share it with these girls and you're like, hey, I just posted. They go and comment and they like your post. And when they post, then you go to theirs. And you try, and of course, it's not always going to happen that you do it within the first 60 minutes. We're all online at different times. My kids are being so loud, and they 100% should already be in bed. So there's that. But, it's going to be different. It's going to be different for, it's going to be different for everybody. Now he hears me, and he's yelling. Okay. Totally lost my train of thought. But back to the giveaways really quick. I wanted to talk about loops, and I didn't talk about the loops. So, and I'll go back to the pods because we were talking about pods, but I want to talk about loops before I go away on giveaways. Loops are kind of like giveaways, except you're not paying to buy into them. And so you can set those up. And what I do is when I started doing loops is I would reach out to other friends I had in other MLMs because they're trying to do the same thing as you. And if you have blogger friends, it's helpful to do it with them, but you're going to want to reach out to people. Do not do this with your coaches. Do not do this with other people in Beachbody because it's counterintuitive. It's not helpful. But like, for example, I would talk to like a Young Living rep or a Unique rep or, Monet or one of these other people that are trying to do the same thing. And like, let's do a loop giveaway. And so you guys collectively put a little bit of each of your products into this prize pot, and then you give it away to one of the people that follow from the loop. And it's kind of hard for me to do it here while I'm talking to you, but what I can do is I can write up like a little how to do a loop if you guys want. And I can write up a little like how to set up an engagement pod. Some of you might think this is stupid. I'm even saying it because it sounds so simple. Some of you might want me to do it. So I'm more than happy to. If you have questions on it, I can type it up and your coaches can share with you guys in your team pages, but they're both very effective ways. Okay, so back to the engagement pods. So I recommend you guys getting in this situation, it totally does not matter who is engaging as long as there is engagement. And I almost feel like we're all trying to do the same thing here. So I feel less weird saying to my coach friends, like, hey, I just posted this. Can you try to comment right now? Because I just posted it. Can you try to do it? And so get a group of 10, and you can always switch it up. Another thing with doing these pods is saving the post. I want to make sure I said that right, because this is something a little bit newer where Instagram ranks your post even better if people are saving it. So if you open up your phone and there's like that little, it looks like a little, I don't know if you can see my phone, but it's in this corner right here. That's the save, and the more saves you have, the higher that post gets ranked. So in your engagement pods, if you can be like, hey, save my post, and sharing it to each other, the more shares, the more saves, like all of these things are things that help get that post ranked higher. And these happen in your engagement pods. So we did giveaways, we did loops, we did engagement pods. I am talking so fast because it's so much information and I'm trying to run through it really quickly. I think I touched on everything that I had on my list though. And again, just to reiterate, it's super, super important that you stay true to like your voice, the way you would normally talk, the people you genuinely want to follow, the way your life truly is. I get a lot of people that message me and they're like, is your house really clean? Like, do you really clean your house? I mean, I get messages like that almost every day. And I'm like, yes. And I will tell you guys this. For years, when I first started coaching, I would like intentionally mess up my kitchen. Like I would throw crap everywhere because I thought I had to be this hot mess mom because that was like cool. Like it was a thing to be a hot mess mom. But that wasn't who I was. And honestly, it stressed me out. And then I would go clean it as soon as I took the picture. And likewise, I think there's a lot of people who feel like everything has to be in place. There can't be a thing unturned. The pillows have to be perfect. And I get that too, but like that's not you. So that's going to stress you out. So I think as long as you're being true to like your voice and you're trying to make these pictures like aesthetically pretty, I don't think you need to clean out the kitchen and have like the whole laundry basket picked up in order for, you know, post to be successful. I remember a post that I had done, maybe it was like a year ago, but I had dumped out all the laundry that I had to fold and my kids were like playing in it and it looked like a pile of leaves that they were like digging around in. But the way it was laid out and the way it was framed was aesthetically pleasing, but it was also real life. In that moment that I had 7 laundry baskets that I had to go through. Does that kind of make sense, guys? It doesn't have to be a fake picture, but it can be pretty. It can be pretty chaos. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does. But I want to make sure that you guys are staying true to who you are and you're sharing things because they genuinely are things you want to share and not because you think it's something you're supposed to be saying and or sharing. Amanda, I just read that, or you have to have a baby. I have old, big kids. I mean, I'll be real. I feel like half the time I should probably have another baby just because it would be helpful for my business, but it's definitely not happening for me. So we're just gonna have to go another route and tap into another niche. So I get it for those of you who don't have kids or don't have the babies. I feel you. So just, you know, and likewise, like those people are not interested in following those people that have babies either. So if you're tapping into the right niche, then, you know, you're good. So I think that's it. Chelsea, how many do you have in your 2 separate iPhone notepads at a given time? Do you try to put them in alphabetical order? So it sorts by how often you use it. So I have, let's see, I have a note for my hashtags. I have a note for my business building coaches. I have a note for my diamonds, star diamonds. Like I label everything, label in my business. I have a note for my PDFs. So, you know, I was telling you guys that I do everything in PDFs. I have a PDF for like pumpkin spice that I was giving out, my 30-day meal plan, 2B, ultimate portion fix, coaching in a nutshell, morning melts 100. I have like so many PDFs. And I have a note for those. I have a note of like scripts, like my go-to responses after someone responds to a poll, and I just title them at the top of the note. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. And then it just pops up, it populates based on how often you go into that note. So the ones that are Beachbody related typically are always at the top because I'm always adding to them. I will answer questions for like the next 5 minutes because I want to be respectful of all of your time. So I will just kind of scroll through these, and if you guys have questions, I'll just answer them as they come in. Question regarding something you said earlier. You said you don't follow large accounts. By large accounts, do you mean like the Beachbody super trainers like Autumn or Jericho? You can follow them, but you're not going to want to follow their followers and or follow the people that are commenting, because I would wager to say that like 98% of the people who are fangirling over Jericho is probably a coach. So they're not going to be your market. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have some people that are following her because she is a super trainer, because she's cute. But I would say the bulk of these people's followings are in the Beachbody network in some capacity. So I would say to try to follow people totally outside of this wheelhouse of the Beachbody world completely. So if fitness is your genre, try to find someone that's not in the Beachbody wheelhouse, if that's where you are looking for someone. I don't follow that world. Like I love Beachbody for what it is, and I love Beachbody that's at-home workouts, but I would never call myself a fitness person, so I've never tapped into that niche market. So hopefully that helps. How often do you recommend running boot camps, and how long should they typically run for? That's a great question, Stacy. I do them every month because I always want to have something to invite to. So what I recommend doing is branding your boot camp. I, for a long time, did them program specific. So I would say, you know, like this is my T20, my Transform 20 boot camp, or this is my Insanity Max 30 boot camp. This is my Live Forward boot camp. But that name doesn't really mean anything to other people except for you immediately like stamp a Beachbody tattoo on your forehead, and it can isolate someone before they even really have a chance to get to know you or want to get to know you. So I had the idea, instead of branding the boot camps as my name or as the program, to brand them as something else. And it's funny because we have Slay Squad, and I've called my boot camp Slay Girl Boot Camp. But people have really seemed to like that branding. And so it's Slay Girl Boot Camp, but every month it's a different kind of like subgroup. So this month it's fall into fall. It just started today. It'll run for a month. And then 2 weeks into the group is when I start trying to think about what my next one is going to be. And by the end of that week, into the 3rd week of the group running, I am already advertising and promoting the next round. This is so I always hit Success Club. To me, that's very important. I have hit SC10 for years. It's just one of the things that's a non-negotiable for my own business. So if I always have something to be inviting to, it makes it a lot easier for me to hit those numbers and to bring in new challengers. I predominantly focus on challengers over coaches. I do the method I was telling you, where I find these people that I think would be awesome, and I cultivate that relationship, and I do a hard invite to coaching sometimes. But more often than not, my best coaches are my challengers that I have invited to become a coach. So I bring them in as challengers. I try to bring in at least 10 challengers in a month. And then I work on converting them to a coach by giving them an incredible challenge group experience, and then really loving the programs, the workouts, all of that. And then I tell them how what they're already doing would earn them money. And then I kind of go from there. So for me, customer to coach conversion is my best source of coaches. And I recruit all of my challengers from Instagram. Stephanie, I've been extremely diligent with following and making connections, but I'm struggling with getting people to follow back. So that's a really common thing people say. And I haven't seen your social media, so I can't speak to it directly. But what I find a lot of times is the people that you are following, your social media does not tell the same story that they are telling. So you might be following people, you're like, well, I'm really interested in traveling. I love traveling. Traveling is totally one of my interests. But when I go to your page, I see your salad, and I see your workout and I see you at the park with your kids, but I don't see anything about traveling. So that traveler is looking at your page and they're like, there's a disconnect here. I don't understand. In your head, you love traveling, but your story is not telling that. So I think sometimes your social media is not correlating with the people that you're trying to engage with. So it could be a lot of things. It could be the presentation of your visuals. Like I said, we have like 5 seconds to get someone to decide to follow us back or like us. Is your visuals appealing before they ever read a caption? That's a thing. Are you going after very large accounts? I will be honest and say I almost never follow people back. I don't know that they're following me. I get hundreds and hundreds of notifications a day. I don't see it. It doesn't happen. So if you're following an account that has a large number of followers, they likely aren't seeing you follow them. The best way in that situation to get their attention, if you really were, is to constantly be showing up in their stories. Like I have some regulars that like everything I post, they're there, and I freaking love those people. And if they were to invite me to something, I would love them for it. So I would say maybe amp that up, or maybe try to go after people that have smaller followings that are more likely to see what you're doing. I would say don't even mess with private accounts. They're private for a reason. They probably don't want you to message them. So I would stick with public accounts. So you put the PDF in tiny URL. I do use tiny URL. I know some people use Bitly. There are others, but I like tiny URL, and then you can customize the URL. So it will be like tiny URL / Slay Girl Bootcamp, tiny URL / whatever. Yep. How do you get more people to watch your stories? It's really a lot of like the way you're engaging on your feed, and then how you're having these relationships with people where you're commenting on their posts and you're engaging on their pictures. It's a lot of effort on your end to want people to come back to you. So a lot of what you're doing with your stories right now is just framework for, you know, as those people start rolling in, as you do more of this work of bringing people over. I mean, if you're following 100 people a day and you're engaging with at least 50 a day and you're doing that every single day, think about how many people you could potentially be bringing to your page that are looking at your caption, which then, you know, I mean, your posts, reading your caption, which then they like you, now they want to watch your stories. So it's kind of like this circle effect of like step by step by step. Directly though to stories, you can do hashtags, geotags, you can tag accounts, you can, you know, there's ways, you know, you can do that. Something for me that's been working is I have a lot of local places. I'm going to a lot of local restaurants, bars, venues, and I'm hashtagging them. I mean, I'm tagging them, and then they will reshare the picture that I shared. And that opens you up to like all of these, you know, this local market of people. If you purchase something from like an online boutique, so like not like a big company like Target, or like even a bigger company like Lulu's or Revolve, because I don't know how often they do reshares, but just with me, for an example, like I have Fake Couture Collection, which is my clothing. I do reshares all the time. So if you wear something, you buy something for me and you wear it and you tag me, I reshare it. Well, in a situation like that, if you're buying from small boutiques, they're going to reshare your post, and now boom, your story is now in the feed of all of these people that it wouldn't have been in otherwise. So that is another perk to shopping small, is you're getting that kind of, you know, visibility that you wouldn't normally be able to get because they've chosen to reshare your post. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. I could answer these questions all day, guys.